Yeah, no, I was hoping like. I know. Well, I did see her running into the dog restaurant and I came back to I feel like I've done it.
Yeah, that's.
I'll do that to you.
I feel like that was a.
Yeah.
Yeah.
She works in the PCU. The PCU. Pardon? Oh, really? I think she works like 7 to 7 during the day. Yeah. She's actually a nurse intern now.
Yeah.
She's, you know, yeah.
I think this is kind of standard. Although it's got. Okay, gotcha. But I think we needed this.
All right, 6:30, I'll call the meeting to order. Can we have roll call?
Got it?
I need approval on July 11th, 2024 agenda. Any discussion on it?
So moved.
Second.
All right, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. You have the minutes from the regular meeting held on June 13th, 2024.
I make a motion to approve the minutes on the regular meeting held on June 13th, 2024, as presented. Can you see 24?
Any support?
Support.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. We'll move on to public comments. I'll open public comments, and this is your time to address the board on anything that's not already on the agenda this evening.
Schedule for a public hearing.
Schedule for a public hearing. Thank you, Kim. Okay, hearing none, close the public hearing. Public comments, we'll move on to public hearings scheduled for this evening. We have a request to rezone 2938, 2946, 2960, and 2990 West Genesee Street from B1 Neighborhood Business to B2 General Commercial. Yep. Alex? would you like
Yes,
to-
good evening, everyone. That's right on. All right, wonderful. So we have a rezoning request in the public hearing for the mentioned parcels along West Genesee. This is an aerial shot of all 4 subject parcels at the corner of West Genesee and Melville, sorry. Here's another aerial without the parcel of the existing west side party store and the 3 residential structures. The future land use classification has it as general business. The current zoning district is B1, neighborhood business. Rezoning review standard 1. The requested amendment is in compliance with the city master plan, or that a mistake in the plan or change in conditions or city policy have occurred that are relevant to the request. Finding of facts, the future land use map clearly identifies the area as planned for commercial general business, match plan goals, support commercial general business along West Genesee Street on the western portion of the city. The staff's comments is the request appears to be in compliance with the city's master plan. The applicant's response, the applicant has left this part of the application blank, but had provided a conceptual plan for the site, which is not under consideration currently for the rezoning, but it doesn't include a gas station and a convenience store. Standard number 2, the property cannot be reasonably used as it is currently zoned. and the proposed request represents the most suitable alternative zoning classification based on the city's master plan. We have no facts of finding in support. Our staff comment is the request more clearly aligns with the first standard, which is that it matches the master plan's future land use map. The applicant, again, has left this part of the application blank, and it just as I previously stated, appears to be proposing a gas station and convenience store. And again, staff recommendation encourages the planning commission to recommend approval of the zoning of the, to the city, rezoning to the city council because the request is in compliance with the city's master plan. Any comments or questions?
Mr. Ricku, the proposed gas station, which is not currently under consideration tonight, would that be a permitted or special land use under the zoning?
I believe it's permitted.
Am I understanding you correctly? You're stating on here that they have not filled in what they want to use as the use here? Because it shows fueling center and convenient market. What are you saying, they're leaving blank on their application?
They didn't, well, in their application, the applicant can put in their comment for why they want to rezone it. That part was blank, so I don't have the liberty of saying what it is they're intending to do, with the exception that they want it to be B2.
Can we draw a reasonable inference that by the submission of the gas station plan that is probably what they intend to do?
Potentially. That would likely be the general outcome.
Does that mean then, with it being blank, that we are leaving ourselves wide open for them to put anything in there that may or may not fit in with the plan for the intended use in that area?
So we're
For the
allowing
small
them
business versus commercial?
to apply for either a permitted or special land use in the B2 district if it's to be rezoned. So it wouldn't necessarily be a convenience store or a gas station. It could be any of those potential uses in that district.
Alex, you are aware that there is already a convenience store there. Are they gonna tear that down and put it with the gas station or
Yeah, so if you're looking,
an L?
I believe in your packets, you should have
I didn't catch that there.
Mr. Shango. Oh, it's in the folder.
Maybe that's to the 290. And the 3 houses.
Okay,
It really says.
yes, it is. So if you turn to the back of the last page of the information regarding the rezoning, there's a proposed potential plan for that site to include all 4 parcels.
Okay.
Mhm.
So I'm assuming, since there's homes there now, that the goal is to purchase those homes from citizens?
They're all currently under the same ownership. So you could rezone without having ownership of those properties.
Those are his homes.
Commissioner Atman?
Is the applicant here to speak on some of these questions?
My name is Jeff Van Camp from Creekwood Architecture. It is proposed to be a gas station, is what they are proposing. The currently, in addition on to the West Side Market, construction of it, to bring it up to today's standards, along with the 4 pump islands. Is currently. And they would be proposing to leave the farthest east residents as a buffer, along with additional landscaping and all that, which would be through the site plan process.
I do have a question. Is that a vacant lot?
There is I believe it's an easement to the lot, to the property behind.
Okay,
So there is
because I know there's a bike trail down there.
yeah, that's a farther to
Okay.
the east. So there's their house and then there's a vacant lot, which I'm assuming is egress to that property.
So the last house that's left on this drawing, that's also owned by,
Correct.
okay.
Any other questions for the applicant? Thank you.
I do have an additional question, Mr. Rick.
Yes.
So, I mean, I know with the planning and zoning laws are vast and don't always work well with each other, but I'm a little hung up on the second standard. The property cannot be reasonably used as it is currently zoned, and the proposed request represents the most suitable alternative zoning classification. It seems to me that there's already a use. There's 3 rental homes and there's a parts store. That is being reasonably used. Now, I understand that at some point, somebody put together a city master plan and they master planned it for this alternative zoning classification. Is there anything you'd like to talk about regarding that?
Yeah, Mr. Womack, that's a very good question. Generally, with that type of standard in your zoning ordinance is trying to reflect or bring about what would be the highest and greatest use for that potential site. So it's kind of a proposed question in saying that this would be potentially beneficial for the community. It's kind of an ability also to rezone a property that perhaps necessarily wouldn't entirely reflect the master plan, so it'd be an opportunity to then rezone it in a way that maybe with the changing times could be something, an alternative than what is maybe perhaps stated in the master plan. I guess it's the best way I can answer that, how you can jump to that conclusion generally with these.
And you're doing excellent, and I appreciate that because it's a very tough question.
Yeah.
Is the standard highest and best used? Because right now I'm looking at it, says cannot be reasonably used.
Yeah, that's kind of the semantics of it, reasonably used. So it could potentially be reasonably used. The idea behind these are generally, what would be perhaps, a better alternative to what currently could be based on residents' needs, whether it's, convenience store or an improved property or tax base. It's kind of an open-ended, interpretation. I can't really put my finger exactly on that, but it's just more of a qualitative type thing as opposed to a, quantitative specific, putting your finger on it type thing.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And as far as who did that master plan, that's what we've been working on, right? So that master plan was something that we all at one point thought that was the best use for it, whether that's still the case or not, but.
I think this is one of those instances where you've got 2 very valid opinions. You've got a master plan and you have current ordinance, and they're a little bit in conflict. But of course, the reason I've asked the question is because there's always possibility for people to complain about anything we do, and I want to make sure that we're on solid legal grounds.
Good point. All right, do we have any more discussion here before I open up public comments? Oh, Commissioner Shane?
I'm thinking about that area, there's 2 elementary schools. I think there's a daycare. That's gonna probably, with that Ford Link gas station, is gonna increase traffic in that area.
Elementary school.
Is that,
Roland.
is that any concern?
It depends on when you're there. It's just like many spots in town. I mean, you're there 2:30 in the afternoon, you're
It's gonna be a
for a
traffic
way.
jam. Okay.
Yeah, other than that.
No different than anywhere else.
Traffic patterns and safety.
Well, that'll be something we would have to.
I'll say is that something we can take into consideration regarding zoning? The change of the zoning classification, or is that a site plan consideration?
Sorry, say it again. Mr. Womack.
So Ms. Shank is concerned about the possibility of traffic
Yes.
related to this business. Is that something that we can properly consider regarding a change in zoning classification, or is that more properly related to site plan review?
It would be more properly addressed during site plan review in that area along traffic. I just want to bring back a side of the zoning district. As you can see, there is, on the opposite side to the west, there's, all B2 zone properties. So this would kind of fit in the general uses in that area along that corridor. So this is not really a a large leap by any means. The zoning ordinance provisions do require for appropriate screening and buffering from the residential uses that are adjacent to the property to both the east and the north. And that would be addressed in whatever site plan or proposed use that officially comes to us for review at that time.
Thank you.
Sorry, just one more thing. So Mr. Hicku, I'm looking at 7-6.02 schedule of uses in the business and office district. Automobile service station for sale of gasoline, oil, and minor accessories only, B2 special land use.
Yes, you're correct.
Okay. I just want to clarify that. And the reason I'm clarifying that is, whether we approve of this modification tonight, as we've mentioned multiple times now, that is no indication whether we would approve of a service station at a later date.
Correct. The special land use would bring about an additional standards of more qualitative aspects of, does it fit within, would not be create a nuisance or would not infringe on public health, safety, and welfare. Those are the general overarching criteria when looking at special land uses.
I do have one more, I'm sorry, I'll make it real quick, it's probably for you. So the last house, that you're gonna use as the buffer, I mean, I guess what my concern would be with the other homes there is what that's gonna do for the other homes that are adjacent to, right next to that property, right? So the home that you plan to leave, I mean, is there any long-term plans of demolishing that and expanding?
Not that I'm aware of.
Because that serves as a perfect buffer right
Yeah,
now.
and that's why I believe they're planning to leave it.
Okay.
To help serve as a buffer along with the additional landscaping.
Is that home in the rezoning area that you're requesting?
Yes.
Thank you. That was something I was going to bring up too, to clarify. So you're asking for 4 properties to be rezoned. You're stating the last one you would keep as residential. So I'm wondering if that
Correct.
would be something I mean, all the rest of the homes there are B2 though, correct?
Right,
Or-
that whole stretch is all
It's currently
B1.
B1.
It's B1, but it's master plan for B2, correct? That whole
Future
district?
land use, but it would continue to be residential in perpetuity until
Right.
there's a new proposed use on that parcel.
Okay, thank you. All right, any more questions before I open it up? All right, I'm gonna open up the public portion of this. If anybody wants to address about this matter, please raise your hand. I'll call on you, state your name. And everybody, just to keep time, you'll have 3 minutes to speak, so we'll give everyone else a chance. Go ahead, sir.
Good evening, my name is Tim Denny. In my spare time, I represent 4 municipal entities in the county, so I get to deal with zoning issues a lot. I also drive in front of this place every day on my way to and from work. I just have 2 concerns. One is the transition from B1 to B2 opens the door to marijuana businesses, which concerns me. The owners seem to have an affinity for these businesses. I don't necessarily have an objection in principle to the gas station, convenience store thing, but it does make me concerned. Now, there are some current legal barriers to them putting a marijuana business here. It's less than 1,000 feet away from a school. But if you look into the state's drug-free law, that setback is tied to whether or not it's a Schedule 1 or Schedule 2 controlled substance. And the FDA is currently in the process of downgrading marijuana to a Schedule 3, so it wouldn't even apply to marijuana anymore if that happens. And I'd be concerned if that would spill down to local ordinances. And even though they're talking about a gas station and convenience store, every good municipal lawyer will tell you that when you rezone, the owner is not bound by anything they tell you about their proposed future use of the property. They can ask for anything that's permitted or permitted by special use in the district itself, so they really aren't bound by that. The second concern I have is traffic. When I come home at night, traffic backs up at the light there at Millville and Genesee, and every now and then I will see some poor brave soul who decides to pull out of West Side Market and think they're gonna turn left. And I'm like, oh no. So they have to cross the westbound lane, they have to see if somebody will let them in the left turn lane and hope they don't get whacked by somebody coming from the other direction. And so I realize that's probably looking more forward to a site plan review, but somebody better give some really careful thought to that, or you're gonna have a horrendous traffic mess there. Right now, because they occupy the corner parcel, they have some flexibility in that, but they don't own a lot of frontage that gets them sort of out behind the traffic piled up. So I just encourage the planning commission to give some thought to that on whether or not you want to transition a rezoning to a more intense use that might make that problem worse than it already is. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sir?
Good evening. I'm Pat Zaret, and I'm representing St. Paul Lutheran Church and Schools. And there are 2 child cares right there, and there's a preschool and elementary school, K-8, and our playground is butting up to the West Side Market now, and those homes. And I'm wondering what ordinances are going to be in place to protect St. Paul property and kids while they're in the playground during the school day. And will there be a border fence? Will there be any regulations put in place concerning possible marijuana, possible other things that might be objectionable to our property? The easement there is for our property if we were going to build a road to go from our parking lot out to 21 in case we were building on. And if we built on, we would be building on where the current playground is this side, if our child care and preschool grow. The current 500 to 1,000 feet distance from a school, would that now impede our ability to build in that spot if this goes through? So that is our concern.
Thank you. All right, anybody else? All right, hearing none, we'll close the public hearing. Any more comments, questions from commissioners? I have one comment. I think even if, before we even get to the point if we're considering this, I definitely would think that the Move on to Tommy's Car Wash at 1068 South Main Street. Alex?
So here you see a specific parcel, which is in the PUD district. This is an aerial shot of the parcel next to south of the tire shop with existing parking on the site. Here, a screenshot of the existing conditions from the site plan. A proposed site plan of the site from the applicant, as well as a landscaping plan from the applicant. There are the elevations of the site that continue the same recommendations from the planning commission before to remove some of the red coloring of the building. Regarding outstanding zoning compliance, there are no outstanding zoning compliance or issues. Other department review comments from DPW, the applicant will need to obtain permits from Eagle for 31-foot extension of sanitary sewer. Will also require water and tap fees. Engineering comments, I would recommend looking at the attached letter, comments regarding Wackett Road, and the proposed sanitary and sewer extension and easements for both connection from the property, adjacent property to the south, as well as easements for connection on the site for the city to approve. You have your standards of approval for the use, site design characteristics, building design, preservation of significant natural features, site access and circulation, emergency vehicle access, traffic impact, other general development requirements, utility stormwater, other agency reviews and hazardous materials. It's a staff recommendation to approval of the site plan because it meets the standards in section 7-1804 with the following conditions: the no revised site plans to satisfactorily meet all remaining staff comments from DPW and engineering.
Thank you. All right, any comments, questions?
Rick, my concern always with car washes is with the drying feature that is usually at the end of the dry, or at the end of the wash. Nuisance to any. There is the Pure Kinder Care, which I'm assuming is some kind of child care center immediately south of this property. I'd be concerned about any loud nuisance noises being created by this car wash affecting the adjoining use. Can you speak to whether that is a possibility or a concern?
Yes, Mr. Holman, that's a great question. I believe that that could be a concern of noise to adjacent properties. If I understand direction of the car wash leaving this site is to the west, is that correct?
That's correct.
To the west. So it wouldn't be necessarily going towards traffic, it would be going towards also the residential district to the west as well. So I'm not sure if the applicant is prepared to answer any questions on the potential barometer of noise that they're going to put in for the site. So it's a good question.
Oh, I would, because especially the west side is where the main building of Kinder Care and the rear playground is of that building. So if the accident's going to be on the west and the potential sound violations are on the west, I'd like to hear from the applicant what they're going to do to mitigate that possible nuisance.
I'm Bruce Zingster with, and this is Kyle Lawrence with, he's the owner. Tommy's has spent a lot of time working on their fans and the drying fans, and they have probably some of the quietest fans that I've heard of any car wash that I've seen. I think that we could provide you a sound study that they did. I've heard that they had one, but I don't have a copy of it myself. So if that's a concern, we can address that way.
The plan is also to have everything electrical driven as opposed to traditionally hydraulic. And that will reduce the amount of boost stuff that you hear. Typically when you're coming towards the end of a tunnel car wash, you know, when you get to the end, you hear the that's going to get significantly reduced by having electric drives.
Anybody else have anything to address?
One question, I think I read it, they've cut down on the amount of red on the outside of the building.
Yes.
Okay. Earth tones?
Typically, we have a fully red building.
I won't bring up earth tones again.
That's what they start with. That's what they start with until we get to here. Yeah.
And I don't know how many of you were here 2 years, a little over 2 years ago now, when we were here originally, but that's what we negotiated, that's what we submitted the first time.
That's why I asked.
And I am a new owner of this property. We've owned it for 2 weeks. So I had it under contract towards the second week of March. So this is, apologies if this is like Groundhog Day to everybody here. And I've asked before. Tom Engineering does a great job and work with Tommy's Express on plenty of their car washes. So Bruce knows what's going on. So I pretty much just where are we at? Yeah. Very rich, yeah.
Congratulations on ownership. So forgive me, I'm just now looking at this. Wackett Road, is that what we're calling it? Lockett Road? That's not a road that's in existence, that's gonna be built.
It is in existence. It is a private road development.
Is that the one that winds around behind Bell Tire?
Yep.
Oh,
Yeah.
Comes out on Baldwin?
I'm sorry.
There's some weird stone structure
I
back
didn't know
there.
that was the name of it.
I didn't know it was Beckett.
I don't know that.
But I'm
there's-
telling- I thought it was just a road without a name, really,
Telling
truthfully.
everyone.
So that does kind of answer my question.
I knew there was a road.
So my question and concern was gonna be about the stacking distance, some people attempting to enter into the property, but if that road is your entrance, because it looks like the driveway entrance onto the property is on the far west side of Wackett Road, off the M24.
Correct.
You know, I just don't want there to be backups onto M24.
Right.
That provides a significant amount of stacking distance.
Mr. Womack, to address that, Tommy's typically, they want to do 2 or 3 different pay lanes in order to have stacking. But Tommy's Express, they're not a full service car wash, they are an express wash, so speed is really what they sell. So the modus operandi of Tommy's Express is to get the customers in and off the site, of course satisfied, but in very timely.
In addition to speed, you sell car washes too.
Yes.
So speed, give the car wash.
Yeah.
There's actually a Tommy's on my drive home, so I'll have to stop by there and see what the fans sound like.
All right, so any more questions or concerns for the applicant?
Is Bell Tire currently using your property for extra parking?
Yes, I don't know the whole arrangement with the developer, but we did, and I should have submitted it the second time. We did submit the first time that they have a letter that they will not be using that parking anymore. And I don't remember if the developer was giving them additional parking someplace else. I didn't take a copy with me, and I apologize, so I can resubmit that if you need.
Because I think they're using, wait, it's right there, it's paved, but then they're using another section that is dirt, not paved. So that must be an older.
Yeah, it's an
Old
older
man.
picture. Yeah, it's to the west, it's a north-south oriented dirt parking lot on the west side of the existing parking lot.
And then that road still doesn't have that top coat, is that something that
And that's part of the comments of the engineer to address, the quality of that road for additional traffic, as part of the engineering comments.
I just think we ought to get better at getting people to do it.
The comments, all the comments from DPW engineering, and that's, the 3 comments that are provided by the engineer.
I would just add, if I may, the pavement of the road is not my client's responsibility, it's the developer's responsibility. So I'd rather you didn't make him responsible for it, because he's not gonna pay for it. The developer already has his money from the lot sale. So he's responsible, it's an enforcement issue from the city to have that fixed and finalized. So
I don't know about that, and I'm not sure we necessarily have to hold your client responsible. We also don't have to approve a site plan where someone's gonna renege on a promise to pave a road. It's kind of a joint deal there. My question would be, do you have an easement or is an easement necessary to use that private road as part of your use of your
it's
property?
part of the development, it's a PUD condominium, and it's all part of that condominium agreement. So once the developer finishes his job of paving the road, then the association, which might will be responsible for maintenance. It's all in the agreement, so that can be enforced, the city can enforce that. But to make it specifically my client's responsibility, I think is overstepping the bounds of that development.
So the city approves a site plan, your client builds out his use of the property, and then it never gets top coated. And the city then has to go after some other party to enforce that agreement?
The city approved the development, that's what needs to be paved, not our property. The development road needs to be paved. So that's already approved, you've already done that.
Use that road as part of your development.
Correct, same as Bell Tire.
Yeah, why isn't that, I guess that's the question, why isn't that done now? Because Bell Tire's been there for
For a
3 to
long
4
time.
years.
Oh, okay.
Longer than that?
15?
Oh, has it really?
It's been a while.
At least 10.
So that's something that should have already
I
taken
can go by
place.
what car I had when I brought it there.
And it's a good question
Yeah.
about whether the city holds a bond on that. Which of course, developers never want to do that, and then they renege on the promises later on too.
Yeah, because I would say up to this point, you have benefited nothing from this drive where Bell Tire has, right? And if that was part of the original arrangement, someone hasn't kept up their end of the bargain until now.
And the developer did give us, 2 years ago, gave us the letter that he will pave this as soon as our heavy construction is done, which I understand that makes sense, but at the same time, you know, what happens if we had to come back and we never built it? You know, it should be done, and it's built to handle traffic, so, you know, I mean, I understand where you're coming from, but I just don't want my client to be responsible for doing the job when it's not. You know, he hasn't benefited from the road at all. In fact, he's paid the developer or paid the previous owner who paid the developer money, which should have been going to pay the road, so.
Both of that drive would then serve 2 automotive uses, and neither one of those are gonna serve us very well if the road's not top coated and speeding up everyone's vehicles. So I'm gonna be absolutely incentivized to hold the developer's feet to the fire there, to make sure that road gets done.
All right, thank you guys. So how does that work when obviously it's a recommendation from the DPW to have that done? I mean, it's like.
So the comment from the engineer is that, maybe to, suggest that the city obtain some form of written commitment from the applicant or, and how and when the reconstruction of Blackwood Road will occur. As the top coat, it was never installed, and there's extensive cracking, and the service of that property is kind of towards its end. An engineering comment.
I understand, sorry,
Go ahead, Mr. Lynch.
I understand the applicant's concerns, and I can understand not holding him responsible for the road, but it's almost like we're playing a shell game here. He's got his commitment and agreement with the adjoining property owner, which as far as I know, the city is not party to, which would make it terribly difficult for the city to then enforce their agreement between each other. I'd like to see some additional guarantee that that road's going to be taken care of, whether it's or the adjoining property owner. And I'm still willing to approve of this, but I would consider making that a consideration or a requirement of approval.
Well, I have to say, if it's based on what their request, that this be addressed, can we add that verbiage in there that states that it's even a commitment, like this is approved based on even a commitment from the developer that they're gonna move forward with it.
So in the same motion, the third bullet is complete necessary reconstruction of Wackett Road, the private road, to meet the demands of the traffic of a car wash facility. So that is a motion.
And I could see that obligating the applicant here to enforce his agreement against the adjoining property owner. Of course, that can be long and convoluted, and the public doesn't expect it to be long and convoluted. They expect it to be done with insulation opens. So it's a potential for a black eye for the city to make it look like we can't control development in the city.
So I don't know if you want to answer this out loud, but so did the city not get, whenever that was done, did the city not get a bond from the developer?
I wasn't here.
Well, I understand that. I just don't know. Do you know if the city did or did
I do
not?
not know.
Okay.
You didn't comment that we did not get a bond for that?
I did not.
Was something that we were supposed to be, we requested, and we didn't
I
receive
don't
it?
recall.
Thank you.
I think I'd be willing to approve, although Mr. Hurku, I don't know, how you go about doing this, but some kind of administrative review of any method to move forward with enforcing that top coating. Is this considered an administrative approval of all these necessary requirements that are listed here? Okay, I would be willing to add an additional requirement that administration approve, review or approve of some type of agreement added, regardless of who does it.
Would we want to add that to the third bullet, or?
Sure, as clarification,
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah, because the way I'm reading that, we know what's implied here, but that's just because we're sitting here talking about it. It's not spelled out, like, you could just add to that, this basically covers the top coat to finish the drive.
We just add specific top coat.
Madam Chair, would you be willing to entertain a motion at this point?
Any more discussion on this before we do that?
Just for clarification, I guess. So is the road that needs to be paved the property of the developer or being leased by the applicant?
I think that question is unknown to us at this moment in time. It's a private road, so it's not a city-owned or public road, but whose ownership it is, I don't think we've seen paperwork to identify that.
The reason I'm asking, because it seems more appropriate or reasonable to make that the responsibility of the property owner, not as like a condo,
But I think that's what we're
Renter.
trying to do here. We're trying to assist,
okay,
if they're gonna develop this property, they understand that that road's gotta be top coated, but it's not their road. It's the developer's road.
so it's gonna be worded such that it's not on the applicant,
Yeah.
but on the owner. That's what I wanted to make sure. Because that seems more appropriate to the person who owns the land versus the applicant.
Is that open-ended though? Is there a timeframe put in there, or just at some point in their lifetime?
It would be contingent upon approvals with final conditions, so that would have to be completed for the applicant to be,
Yeah, that should cover it.
certificate of certification of occupancy.
All right, Commissioner Woman?
Yeah, so I'd make a motion to approve site plan requested by Thomas Car Wash to construct a drive-through car wash at 1068 South Main Street, because it meets all the standards in 718-04 with the following conditions. Applicant will need to obtain permits from Eagle for a 31-foot extension of sanitary sewer. Applicant will be required to complete water and sewer tap fees. Madam Clerk, could you read number 3 for me?
You said require administrative approval of agreement for top coating of Walcott Road.
She's indicated the applicant shall submit a signed recordable easement document signed by the adjacent property owner. Proposed public sanitary sewer extension. Applicant shall submit a second recordable easement of the existing sanitary sewer easement on Tommy's Car Wash property. I believe that's it.
Support.
Supported?
Supported, yeah, sorry.
Any more discussion? Commissioner?
Just to clarify, this helps the property owner have a better leg to stand on to get that road redone for the developer.
Well, I think it's both not necessarily holding this applicant to the requirement, but it requires that he enforce his agreement against the adjacent property owner, and it helps protect the public with the, the need and desire of the lead to leave. I believe we believe that the top one has to be completed.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. All right. We're gonna move on to the site plan approval extension for the Sunoco addition at 715 South Main Street.
Skip, it's Harry Churchill.
Maybe I wanted to do them first.
You are the chairperson.
All right, I guess we'll go back to the plan.
Thank you both.
Thank you.
We're gonna go over the site plan approval extension for Carriage Hill Circle, multiple family residential unit.
Yes, so this is a multifamily residential development. We're looking for a site plan extension. Here is a sheet from the site plan, the proposed multifamily development at the end of Carriage Hill. Sorry. Yeah. So, looking here.
It's in a way back.
There's nothing, I'm thinking there was something we had, but there's not. Let's see a picture.
Yes, so the applicant for Carriage Hill Multi-Unit Development Housing Project is requesting an extension for their approved site plan. The plan originally approved in August 10th of 2023 with conditions that provided in section 718 of 6B, the city of Lapeer zoning ordinance. Case where the construction authorized by site plan approval has not commenced within 1 year time of site plan approval or granting an extension. Site plan approval shall become null and void and all rights terminated. So the planning commission, the planning department worked with the applicant to address their conditions of approval and have signed approved site plan on file as of October 30th, 2023. The property owner, Brian Scott, reached out to the planning department on June 13th, 2024 to request a site plan extension. Planning commission may decide between one of the following options: approve the site plan with a 1 year extension until August 10th of until the date of August 10th. It should be 2025, not 2024. And, or deny the site plan extension, making the plan null and void.
Thank you. All right, any questions, concerns on the matter?
Do we know why they aren't able to comply within the timeframe?
The applicant's here.
Okay.
So
Please state your name.
Brian Scott. So I started to develop, when I started the process to get everything approved, interest rates were at 4%, and then they jumped to 7%, lumber doubled. Lumber's come back down and interest rates are stable, so we were waiting. And then I have a daughter that's on the spectrum and has rheumatoid arthritis. And when I was going through, I was getting all my bank loan approvals and I started this project, she attempted suicide, so I had to find a place to put her, and so I kind of stopped handling this for about 3 months. So I'm back on track. She's in a good, safe place, so that's why everything stopped.
Sorry.
Sorry.
Thank you. All right, any other questions?
So forgive my ignorance, but site been built out at all? Is this a phased project? What's the current status of the project?
It was originally supposed to be built as condos, all the undergrounds in, and we had it zoned in 4 phases, so
this was, up here was phase one, these buildings here, phase two, phase three, phase four, and road and everything's there, and was a, abandoned condo development from the recession of 06, 07.
Mr. Rick, who other than the failure to build within the time frame, are there any other issues with the site we should be aware of?
Not that I'm aware of, no, I don't know.
I've been getting the grass cut every other week and cleaned up the site, so it's not a nuisance to any of the other condo people, and everything's cleaned up and it's all manicured, so it looks a lot neater than it did before.
I'll tell you what, we certainly need high quality housing.
I would make a motion to approve a one-year site plan extension requested by Carriage Hill Circle to construct 32 multifamily residential units on vacant parcel L20-93-304-040-00 located at Carriage Hill Circle, because the project is likely to commence before the plan expires on July 11th, 2025.
Support.
Second.
You guys have our muscle for it.
Either do it. Commissioner,
Yeah,
We
can
want
you,
this.
sorry, can you amend that, sorry, to August 10th?
Oh, right, 'cause the date, yeah.
Yeah, sorry.
Yes, August 10th of 2025.
Extension of 20, yeah.
Would the second also modify?
Yeah, the paperwork does say yes.
But right, I was reading off the
Yeah,
proposed motion.
because this was written wrong. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I had it there. So August 10th.
All right, so we have motion support, any more discussion?
So I think we imply that sir, do you plan to commence within the next year? Thank you.
Can I just real quick say, I had complaints in the past from several of the residents of the condos that already exist. And very happy. I think you not only have been doing lawn, but I believe you've also been doing snow removal this past winter. So, it's really, it's better for them. Their association is paying for it in order to have it done, so it's helped their budgets. So, thank you.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so now we get to move on to the site plan approval extension for Sunoco addition at 715 South Main Street.
Yes, so I provided you a site plan of the proposed use as well as elevations from the sheet from the applicant. The applicant from Sunoco Gas Station project has requested an extension of their approved site plan. The site plan was originally approved on July 13th, 2023, with conditions as provided from section 718-6B. The city of Lapeer zoning ordinance in case where the construction authorized by site plan approval has not commenced with 1 year, the site plan approval are granting an extension. The site plan approval shall void and all rights thereof terminate. The planning department works with the applicant to address their conditions of approval and have signed approved site plans on file as of September 27th, 2023. The project architect, Harris Hackham, reached out to the planning department on June 10th, 2024, requesting a site plan extension. Mr. Hackham indicated to use a building permit has been applied with the city building department. However, it has not been approved yet. Erring on the side of caution, Mr. Hakeem, and the applicant is
Yeah.
Burger King.
Right.
And some concerns that we had with shrubbery on McCormick, pulling in and out of there. There was some concerns about that. Is that what you guys remember?
Yes.
Remember.
They addressed everything.
The reason I asked is, we had that tank issue on the other corner over here, so I was wondering if there's like a life expectancy on those things. I wouldn't want them to build this, cool building and then have to tear the parking lot back up or something like that.
I don't remember that being a.
No.
That was never a discussion.
I don't know, is
Those
it
were redone not long ago too.
any oversight over oil and gas storage?
I
It
don't,
seems-
I don't
That's
think so.
Eagle.
Yeah, it seems like a legal thing.
Yeah, we have to hope they did their jobs.
Eagle or?
I made the motion.
Okay, motion, do I support? Robert, support, so, in favor?
Aye.
Anybody opposed? All right, motion carries. Thank you. We'll move on to the development activities report, this is as. All right, training report, do we have an update on training?
Like I said, just restating some of the conferences and trainings coming out, the Oak Park walking tour, I recommend if you can get out there. Obviously, the Michigan Infrastructure Council has a training program on August 10th to the 24th. It's free, but you must register in advance. And obviously, the last one, which is the big Michigan Association of Planning's annual conference. It's a little earlier this year. It's in late November as opposed to October, and it's in Grand Rapids. So it's not up north, it's just across the state.
Is there a basic citizen planner course coming up?
I can look into that.
Maybe for next time or.
I'll put that on the
On
next.
that one.
That-
No, wasn't there an email that was sent out regarding having the commission go to the last one? Just the registration. I thought there was some email that looked into the registration of that. Am I like totally off the mark, or I swear there was an email.
We do have a training budget now.
So we wanted to go to that last one, we could just,
Yeah, it's budgeted, from what I recall, Mr. Womack, to mainly just cover
just the registration.
conferences, meals and mileage, and I don't have a budget for lodge.
Right. I'm remembering the correct conference.
Thank you. Everyone,
August 12th, I think,
And I believe it's still gonna be at 5:30?
5:30 at the community center, the rec center.
Is that 5:30 sharp?
Yeah.
Only for you.
Okay, well, I might be a few minutes late. I
All
have
right.
a mediation until 5, and sometimes people like to want to argue. So I can't always leave my mediation.
Move on to commissioner comments, Commissioner Shea,
I think I'm good tonight, thank you.
Commissioner Abbott.
I'd just like to thank everybody for coming and for all those projects that are hanging in there. I hope they get started and get them done. Be nice to get some more housing going. Other than that, I do want to, I'll say one thing. We are very pro-business here, but we also have standards, and sometimes standards can be, I'd like to stick to those standards, and sometimes when you're told no, or this, that, and the other, it could be taken the wrong way. But I think it's because the stance of this planning commission in the years past that we have, such beautiful buildings in this city, because you guys do stick to those standards. So I know sometimes that you get bashed on Facebook. I think that's just part of the job, but don't forget that you all are important, and applicants are important, and so is progress. But we do have standards. So don't feel bad about yourselves for upholding.
You're part of us now, so you're.
Yeah, I'll get yelled at just like
Yes,
you all.
Thank you. Commissioner Kelly.
Oh, I just want to, jump off of that one there, Commissioner Atwood. is we have standards and clearly they came back and went with us on the, especially this project that I'm glad to see is now on the starting to go. So going there, that's all. I'm just glad to see these, actually the housing thing, that's pretty good. It goes through.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Walker?
Yeah, I'm just trying to think of a good way to kind of tail end on what Mr. Atwood said. I agree. I personally am very pro-business. I think this board is, if not in the past, moving forward is pro-business. I think we did an excellent job tonight being pro-business. And, as one of the applicants indicated, the economic forecasting for interest rates and cost of 2x4s has been rough, and that's delayed and killed some projects. I've been informed of what the Facebook crowd has stated about the Blaine's project. The city bent over backwards, in my opinion, to try to attempt to get them to come here, provided them all sorts of flexibility, and took, I thought, an aggressively pro-business stance towards it, and we still lost the project to no fault of the cities whatsoever. And then the public comments we received tonight about marijuana, based on the work that I'm doing with the city commission, I do not anticipate that we would have the problems that were expressed here tonight. And I would anticipate in a couple of months we'll see more fleshed out proposed ordinance for how the city is going to be proposing to deal with the marijuana issues, which of course this board would see in a formal fashion because significant portions of that would be zoning ordinances. So I would anticipate that this board will see those in the near future. Hopefully we can put the concerns of the citizens to rest.
Thank you. Commissioner Markberg?
I'm good. No comments.
Commissioner Bostic?
I can't do any better than Commissioner Atwood's kumbaya like moment, so I'm gonna pass.
Exactly.
Me and Mr. Atwood had a similar conversation in my driveway Monday. I'm happy to see, part of what drew me into being on the planning commission was a lot of conversations with Janelle about the plight of Nepson Street. And the fact that it needs to go in a positive direction because that's where we have parades, right out there. It's where we all get. It's great that we can work with Tommy's Car Wash, which is a chain, right? But we have Wood Chips, a local business owner. And the building that he's proposed, I'm hoping, is a chain reaction for what could and should happen downtown. I think that's a positive step.
Thank you. Commissioner Johnson? All right. I just actually have maybe a comment. You were mentioning about the marijuana stuff. I know we brought this up a couple times, and I'm not sure what month it was, that we brought up that we learned about or potentially revisiting the zoning, the intensity of these, and we made a motion or a suggestion, I should say, back to the commission. I don't know that we've ever got a response back to that, or anything that's been addressed back to us after doing that. Is that something that you're going to follow back up with us on?
So as I indicated, there is a draft ordinance that's being worked on with the city commission that are zoning related. I don't know if the city commission decided to provide a formal response or not, but when you see the ordinance, I think that would be an appropriate response to the concerns of this board.
Okay, I guess I think our goal has been through the years too, is us to be definitely more unity, and for us to communicate sometimes too, the clarity, like if a board, and I'm thinking with us, we make a motion, a question, this concern, and we send it to the city commission for, at our standpoint, you may know you're working on something, but it's never been addressed or bounced back to us. Could you actually maybe address us at the next meeting and say, this is where we're working, this is where we're at, and here's what we're addressing? I just think it would be the right thing to do is, our board made a couple of suggestions, and had some concerns that went to the city commission, but at this point, we've never been addressed with it.
So your concerns were passed along to the city commission, and they, for whatever reason, chose not to provide a formal response. Of course, I'm their employee, and work for them, not for this board. So my work is geared towards what their concerns are. And as I indicated, there is a draft ordinance that is going to be proposed. This is one of those boards that will see that as soon as possible.
So I guess I would follow up on that because I remember being the one to bring that up and expressing concerns along the same lines that it's almost like disrespect or discourteous to us to not get some kind of feedback when we actually requested the issue commission. It would seem like in an effort to be a cohesive government body, we should be hearing some communication back along the line. So we know that our initial request was not only being respected, but responded to and giving us that communication back.
Well, we're
And
gonna have,
that's where we didn't get it.
aren't we gonna have this joint meeting on August 12th? So I think, hopefully the city commission will be there. So
Yeah.
I think we can address the city commission and to say, we would like better communication with you. We would like some type of feedback.
Well,
And
I
That's true, because
response?
it's been a long time
It
since
even
this was
came
brought
up tonight. The concern with the rezoning of those properties went right to what if?
Yeah.
What if we already knew the information and what the plan was, then we might have made a decision based on that.
Yeah.
I think we're all volunteers up here, so that's first. When I ask a question, I would like a response, as simple as that. And if it means that I have to go outside of the planning commission and ask the question outside of here, that's what I'll do, right? But I think we should all know, and I think that we've asked the question, we should be told.
We did it in we followed procedure on what our board is to do and how to formally address the city commission. Even if you guys, I think if they would have come back and said, we're taking this under consideration, we're reviewing it, we're gonna check into some things, we definitely heard your response and we're working on it. I feel like that's an adequate response. That's how I feel, but to have no response and just like, we're working on it, we'll let you know when we come up with something.
And as I recall, when
I
we brought
do
it up,
remember talking about it and saying that the commission was working on it with our city manager.
because when I brought it up, I was
And that-
attacked and said it was that this was not a police active or police action event. And all I asked for was feedback on it. And that's what then led to the question of us being informed.
I'd rather work together than against, and
Yeah.
to me, if we're not having open communication about it, then we're failing others, in my opinion. So it would just be helpful from my point of view to know what the response is, that's all. It's pretty simple.
So we're gonna leave that at, you'll get with us when you get with us.
I don't speak on behalf of the city commission.
All right, so would it be appropriate at this point to put another request into the city commission to address us on the matters in which?
Well, we have a city commissioner here. Maybe he could get input as to whether he thinks that the commission will give us some type of written response.
Or is it the mayor?
Generally, give written responses. I'd be happy, I guess, to work with our city manager and the other commissioners, but it is in the works, which is exactly what I told you in the
I know,
past.
but you are not the board, you are not the full body. What you're saying is great, but I feel like we formally as a body address that board, and that board should address us back.
So then let me ask you this, why don't you put in writing exactly the steps of what you would wish us to respond on?
We made a request to the city commission in our board, which was then given back to them, and it's been months at this point, we haven't heard anything. So I think we followed what we were directed on how to approach the subject, it's just
We'll take a look at that if we can find the minutes. I mean, the minutes, obviously.
You know what I think
We'd like to go
procedurally
back and
happened?
look at it,
I think what
see if we can
procedurally
get
happened,
that.
this was a long time ago, it was in the fall, and because I remember the specific motion that was made. But I think what happened honestly is that that's right after that, the moratorium got put in place so that nothing else was being acted upon. And then I didn't know necessarily what was being worked on, but I just think that's procedurally what probably happened, is that when the moratorium happened, it was kind of like an answer, even though it wasn't a formal answer to us, like,
But we
well,
didn't even get it. We had to ask for
Yeah.
more input and then we were told that was a more important. We didn't actually hear back from them. We had to again ask for it.
It's just, we work together, we all have an interest in the same interest in whether, no matter how we vote on the topic, our similar interest is the city of Lapeer. So to us, when our one formal board, whether they addressed us, I think it would be appropriate to address them back on some type of response. And at this point, I feel like we've asked several times and we're just getting, just sit tight, we'll work. I just don't think it was handled correctly. And I do agree at our joint meeting, we could definitely bring it up and just say, hey, to help us, everybody, that would be nice, but to not address us, I just don't think that was handled correctly.
Is that something we could request be on the agenda for the joint meeting? So there's
Is that tough?
appropriate time allotted for it to be addressed?
Is that on the
Question
topic?
to the city manager, they're working on the agenda for that.
I think communication between all the boards is a great topic, actually.
Mhm.
I think it's a great topic.
Is that something that's being worked on, the topic of the meeting?
I believe the agenda is being considered by the city manager and the city planner.
So we're just giving our input, I guess, but we think communication would be a good topic on the.
Based on what I'm hearing, I'm still confused, so I'm gonna seek out a city commissioner and I'm gonna ask them in private. That's what I'll do.
I have talked to one city commissioner and I was told that it wasn't even brought up. It wasn't actually formally addressed to the board. But could we possibly address in full minutes for that? I mean, that when it was actually presented, that our motion that we made our suggestions actually presented?
You can just tell me.
That would have, I would have just had the minutes for the planning commission, whether it's.
I know, but that was never even
Maybe
related
the
back.
city
That's right, that's right. I said
commission.
that. That's
Your
right.
minutes?
I'll just have the moratorium.
I have to pull
We could request.
what's done.
Thank you. I would like to have a copy of that, please. All right, any more discussion? Do you make a motion for adjournment?
Make a motion for adjournment.
I'll second that.
I got 4 out of 5 tonight.
You're on a roll.
They got me.
Well, I think Josh might think it's something great. Yeah. Well, you know, I think you guys. I'm just curious. I don't know how it ends.
So I don't.
Every time I come here, I
Yeah.
Yeah, you just gotta have